Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to another session of this course on Islamic inheritance law, in which we shall be looking at the inheritance amongst the distant kindred according to Shāfiʿī and Hanbalī Fiqh. As we have mentioned earlier, the Maliki Fiqh does not allow the distant kindred to inherit. As we have already mentioned, the Dhawu al-Arham are blood relatives who are neither sharers, ashab al-furud, nor residuaries, asbat. The system of inheritance used by the Shāfiʿī and Hanbalī Fiqh amongst the distant kindred is based on the principle of tanzil, meaning representation, which we shall see in operation with examples. Those Maliki jurists who allow the distant kindred to inherit also follow this system of tanzil. In this system of tanzil, a claimant of the distant kindred class inherits in the capacity of a sharer or residuary heir whom he or she represents. The distant kindred claimant represents the first sharer or residuary heir who appears when the line of connection is traced back to the propositus. One important point to remember in the rules of tanzil discussed here is that the degree of removal of the claimant from the ordinary heir it represents is the deciding factor, rather than degree of removal of the claimant from the propositus itself. So, for example, the daughter of full brother is 1 degree removed from her ordinary heir, the full brother. The daughter of the full brother of the father is also 1 degree removed from its ordinary heir, full brother of the father. If the only surviving heirs are a spouse and distant kindred, the spouse is given his or her share, and the residue is inherited by the distant kindred. A distant kindred as sole heir will inherit the whole estate. There are several rules in the tanzil system which determine the order of priority and the actual share of each claimant amongst the distant kindred. These rules have been grouped into 5 rules for the purpose of this course. They can appear to be complicated. Nevertheless, we shall look at these rules for the sake of completeness. Rule 1 is that if the claimants are connected to the propositus through the same ordinary heir, the nearer in degree to this ordinary heir excludes the more remote. So the daughter's daughter, being a grandchild, will exclude all the daughter's daughter's daughters and the son's son's daughters, all of them being great-grandchildren. The second rule is that claimants who are connected to the propositus through the same ordinary heir and are of the same degree of removal from this ordinary heir inherit on the basis of their relationship to this ordinary heir. If the claimants are of lineal descent, the male and female descendants always inherit equally, according to the Hanbalī Fiqh. According to the Shāfiʿī Fiqh, the male inherits the portion of 2 females, unless the claimants are descendants of a uterine brother or uterine sister of the propositus, in which case they inherit equally if the claimants are uncles and aunts, that is, claimants of non-lineal descent. The normal rules of exclusion and allocation of shares applicable to brothers and sisters apply. If the claimants are cousins of the propositus with different parents, these cousins inherit as their parents would have done. This third rule is that if the claimants are connected to the propositus through different ordinary heirs and are removed from these ordinary heirs to an equal degree, they inherit in the position of the ordinary heirs through which they are connected. Distant kindred paternal uncle or paternal aunt, representing the father, exclude all the distant kindred nephews and nieces who are representing the brothers and sisters, as well as distant kindred cousins representing uncles and aunts. Distant kindred nephews and nieces who represent the brothers and sisters exclude all the distant kindred cousins representing uncles and aunts. Rule 4 is that if the claimants are connected to the propositors through different ordinary heirs and vary in their degree of removal from these ordinary heirs, then, according to the Shāfiʿī Fiqh, the claimant nearer in degree to the ordinary heir that he or she represents excludes all those claimants who are more remote. According to the Hanbalī Fiqh, the claimant nearer in degree to the ordinary heir that he or she represents excludes all those claimants who are more remote within the same general class of heirs. For this purpose, there are three classes of heirs defined by the Hanbalī jurists, namely descendants, paternal relatives, and maternal relatives. Rule 5 is that when the only heirs are spouse and distant kindred, the spouse is given his or her full Quranic share, which is not subject to the doctrine of awl, and the remaining estate is distributed amongst the distant kindred according to tanzil rules discussed above. This brings us to the end of this session. We will, insha'Allah, see how these rules operate in practice in the next session. See you then, insha'Allah.